Hey guys, welcome to episode number 77 of Diehlman at Halftime, the NBA podcast that tops all others. I'm your host, Larry Diehlman, joined by my co-host, Chris Pietro. If you're joining us for the first time, it's great to have you. And if you've been a regular listener, welcome back. We have a lot to cover today and not a lot of time to do it. We'll look at a general overview of the NBA this week and then discuss some important topics across the association. Let's get to our content for the week. Probably one of the bigger stories in the NBA this week. Chris Paul, CP3, is retiring after this season. He will finish his career with 21 seasons under his belt. He started with the New Orleans Hornets. So you might remember there were the Pelicans and the Hornets and the New Orleans, Charlotte, a lot of stuff going on, especially when they were the expansion teams and Hurricane Katrina. They were like the Oklahoma City Hornets or something for a year or two, but pretty much Chris Paul started his career in New Orleans for 6 years. He kind of bounced around a lot. 7 years with the Clippers, part of those Lob City days, seven including this season. So he did six originally, and now he's back for his second stint. 2 years with the Rockets, one in OKC, three in Phoenix, a year apiece in Golden State and San Antonio. And like I just said, he's back in Lob City, well, what used to be Lob City, for his final season. And Chris Paul never played in the Eastern Conference in 21 seasons. Always a West Coast guy, I guess. Career averages about 17 points, 9 assists, 2 steals, and a plethora of awards and accolades in his career. Plenty of all NBA, all defensive teams, all rookie, assists and steals leaders, 12-time All-Star. And Mr. Chris Paul, second in assists and steals all time, behind John Stockton in both categories. Chris Paul currently at 12,545 assists. John Stockton, 15,806. Chris Paul is second in steals, 2007-27. John Stockton, 3265. Trailing considerably in both categories, just shows you how dominant John Stockton was. Chris, a legendary career for Mr. Paul.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite players of all time, and he's responsible for getting me into basketball. I remember in fourth grade, I had a couple friends that were into basketball. I didn't know a thing about sports, and we were assigning each other favorite players just based on our names. And they said, Chris, you're either Chris Paul or you're Chris Bosh. And I chose Chris Bosh. But my boy Carson, he told me, he said, Chris Paul's a lot better. So Chris Paul became my favorite player at the time, and he is the reason that I got into basketball. And yeah, it's just unbelievable how good he was on both sides of the floor. Like you mentioned, he has a plethora of all defensive teams and steal leading seasons. It's just insane how good he was on both sides of the ball. And as a really small guard, he just 6 foot tall, not the biggest frame, not the quickest, not the most athletic, not the highest jumper, doesn't have the longest wingspan. But yeah, he was just a general in every sense of the word. What I really admired about his play style was just his absolute control, his authority over a basketball game. It's funny, he almost seemed annoyed during every single game he's ever played. If you just look at his face, he was just in a constant state of being pestered by something, whether it's a call, whether it's somebody not getting into a set correctly, whether it's a defensive fault. Chris Paul was just obsessed with winning basketball games. And some people will define a winning player by how much they've accomplished accolade wise or in their titles or their awards or just the sheer number of games they've won. And people will define a losing player for the opposite. But I think a winning player should be defined by almost an objective list of qualities. And I think Chris Paul met every single one of those. Hustle, he played hard on both sides of the floor. He would always pass up any of his shots for what he thought was a better one for his teammates. An outstanding leader. The longevity is insane. It's just unreal how he was able to make such a large impact on teams, even after the Clipper days, where We thought his prime was kind of running short on that Thunder team, which he carried to the playoffs. The Suns late in his career, the Rockets right after the Thunder stint, and
Yeah, he went to the Rockets before the Thunder stint, and then it was Suns, Warriors, Spurs.
yeah, it was just, I mean, and he made outstanding impacts on all those teams, even being out of his athletic prime, and he wasn't the most athletic guy to begin with. And obviously he hit one of the most pivotal threes of all time against Dallas in those 2022 semifinals to cut the lead to 42.
The greatest shot of all time.
Yeah, one of the greatest shots in basketball history, without a doubt. But yeah, he's one of my favorite players ever. I think he's a one-of-one type player when you take into account his command over a game, his leadership, his effectiveness, his efficiency on both ends, and all of that, just considering for how long he did it and at the size he did it at. Just such an awesome player. I love Chris Paul. Again, he's the reason he got me into basketball. And I will never forget Chris Paul. Neither will any basketball fan. He's one of the greatest point guards of all time. No question about it.
Chris Paul was the fourth pick in the 2005 NBA draft out of Wake Forest. Chris, do you know who the three picks before Mr. Paul were?
Before Chris Paul,
Yes.
what draft was that again? What year?
Oh
I'm not looking
five.
nothing up.
Oh
Oh
five.
04?
Oh
Oh,
five.
oh
Oh
05.
five.
I want to say Dwight Howard went in that.
That was oh 04. So
Damn.
the number one pick in 2005 for the Milwaukee Bucks was Andrew Bogut.
Mm.
So interesting choice. Number two, a interesting choice as well for the Atlanta Hawks, Marvin Williams, and then the Utah Jazz at number three, Darren Williams. So
Hey, D
those
Will was a hooper, man, and so was Bogut. But
not on the
neither of
level of
them the
Chris
caliber
Paul.
of player. Yeah, not even close.
Yeah, so like you were saying, Chris Paul had a lot of great moments in his career, made every team he played on better. Probably one of the best players in Pelicans history, which I'm not like being a Debbie Downer or anything. It's not saying much because the Pelicans have basically no history. Even like Chris Paul and Anthony Davis are pretty much their top two players of all time. Like there's really nobody else that has done much right now. The Lob City days couldn't get the job done with the championship, but still legendary. The Rockets pushed the Kevin Durant Warriors to 7 games. The Thunder, he was with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in the early baby Thunder days. The Suns went to the finals. The Warriors, he did okay. He played with Victor Wembanyama, and now he's back on the UNC Clippers lineup. He's getting DNPs right now. Basically, just means he's not playing. The coaches are just sitting him at this point. He's just too old, but definitely a great career overall. And Chris, how could we forget? Besides the three-pointer to cut it to 42, how could we forget when he was on the Thunder? Do you remember when I think it was Dennis Schroeder, or maybe Dennis Schroeder's on the team? They faced. No, it was the Timberwolves. They were facing the
Schroeder was
Timber.
on that Thunder's team, I think.
No, 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 yeah. I think the Thunder were facing the Timberwolves the one game. Somebody had their jersey untucked, and Chris Paul cried to the ref about it, and they got a technical foul for it. Now that is what I call dedication.
That man's serious about winning, man.
And
Like I said,
he knows the
like
rule book.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like I don't define winning players by I don't care how many titles you got. I don't care how many playoff series you win. There's an objective list of qualities that make you a winning player. And Chris Paul, he had zero championships, but he had every single one of those winning qualities. That's a winning basketball player in my books.
Even his former teammate JJ Redick, who is now the Lakers head coach, does not want Chris Paul winning a ring this year because that would mean a ring would be going to the team in Los Angeles, not named the Lakers. So, kind of interesting. I don't think Chris Paul's getting a ring because the Clippers are kind of
Doesn't seem
um,
like it. No.
not good. So, but a great career overall. This episode is entitled Legendary. So, who's raising eyebrows at the moment? All right, let's get into it. So, our first topic of discussion today, one that I saw the other day, and it's just kind of a great little clip or whatever you want to call it. Klay Thompson and Ja Morant have some beef. The Warriors and Grizzlies have kind of had beef the last couple years ever since their playoff series. Klay Thompson, obviously not in Golden State anymore. He's on the Dallas Mavericks. But Ja Morant, still the star player over in Memphis. And they had some words for each other, not necessarily at each other. Well, they did during the game, but it was more so post game that caught my attention. So Ja Morant told the press after the game, quote, tell him who the best shooter in the house was. It wasn't bro from Golden State, end quote. Then Klay Thompson says, quote, Morant is a funny guy. He has a lot to say all the time, especially for a guy who rarely takes accountability, end quote. Basically, Klay Thompson added that Ja Morant runs his mouth for a long time. It's funny to run your mouth when you're on the bench. And his career has just left us wanting more, basically meaning that he's underachieved so far in his career and that he's seeing this talent go to waste. He's been letting other stuff get in the way of being a superstar. We've seen it with the suspensions with Ja Morant. And Klay Thompson also said Ja Morant's comments were, quote, nothing of intelligent depth. Chris, a lot of heat in these comments. Good Lord. Ja Morant definitely has had an underwhelming career. We've talked about it earlier this season. Klay Thompson, obviously, anytime he's in a losing argument, holds up his four rings. But Klay Thompson might be a little washed at this moment. But what do you take of this beef?
I mean, you can go back and forth, looking at maybe who's in the hypothetical right and wrong here. I think this beef really kind of started, I think it was the 2022, 2023 season, 2022, where Klay Thompson kind of called Jaren Jackson Jr. a bum in a post-game press conference. And, obviously the Warriors and Grizzlies have been pretty chippy over the last couple of years. So, I don't blame Ja for, I guess, having that sort of moment towards Klay, having that sort of contempt. But obviously, Ja's not really in much of a position to talk like that either. I mean, it as much as I love Ja, like I love Ja, I think he's really funny. Like I thought it was hilarious. He said what he said about to Cam Spencer about being the best shooter in the building, and it wasn't the dude referring to Klay. I thought that was hilarious. Like I love Ja, but he's really in no position to say things like that. Finding him in headlines, finding him in the media for moments that aren't relating to his performance or him winning games for his team, they're pretty sparing. It just comes to a point. It's like, are we gonna see this guy more in the media for things like this, or catching suspensions, or just generally sort of irresponsible things going forward? Or are we gonna start to see him actually put together some meaningful basketball? Because it's felt like a lot of the former lately, and it has for the past couple of seasons. Ja doesn't play much. I think he's shooting like 15% from three this year. Anything relating to shooting the basketball, he should probably just keep it out of his mouth. But, ultimately, I think it's a bit of a nothing burger point of conversation. I mean, players talk smack to each other all the time. It's really funny that how this was captured. I thought Ja's comment was just hilarious. Like, take out the morality of all this and the hypothetical weighing of who had more room to say what. Like, I thought what Ja said was just so funny. But
16.7% from three, by the way.
yeah, like you should just keep it to yourself when you're talking about shooting. Even with the dismal Klay season we are witnessing right now, I think he's shooting plenty higher from three than Ja is so far this year. Yeah, it's a fascinating little altercation. I'm glad it got covered because it's entertaining, you know. It's like we're sitting throwing peanuts at the elephants or whatever they did back in the old days. It's funny. I think Ja's hilarious. No matter who had more room to say what, I just think it was really funny.
I think what Ja has over Klay Thompson is that Ja Morant is like he can be a face of the franchise, but
Mhm.
Klay Thompson has more of the accolades to back it up. Klay Thompson is probably a top three shooter of all time. You could put Steph Curry in there, you could put Ray Allen in there, or Reggie Miller. Klay Thompson's up there too. Just the dominance they had on the Warriors, but just as you said, this is pretty hilarious to see. But Klay, I you gotta side with Klay a little bit. John Morant not taking accountability, and like you said, there's a lot of other stuff that's gotten in the way of Ja's career. We've seen it with the the issues he's had with guns and social media with the guns. And like he said, I hate to see it go to waste. It's been hard for Ja Morant, and now it's hard for Klay Thompson in this point of his career. So definitely some similarities here and there, but definitely a funny conversation.
Who
And
you got in a fight?
I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe Ja Morant now, if we put the guns aside, and I
Yeah,
don't
let's
know.
put the guns down. Let's throw them in the octagon.
Yeah.
Let's get them some 4-ounce gloves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's go championship rounds. Five-minute rounds.
Put
I
the
mean, who
put
you got? Ja has the athleticism advantage for
yeah.
sure, I think.
Clay's got the pure form.
Yeah, Clay is just a technician, man. Clay's a technician, man. People forget, man. But Ja has that animalistic instinct, I think. He's got that primal rage. It came out in that moment, calling out Klay Thompson. He's just got this contempt towards Klay Thompson. And I think in a 5-round bout, I'm taking Ja Morant by a flying knee. Round one, KO, Jorge Masvidal, Ben Askren style. I think it'd be over pretty quick. I think Ja has more contempt and anger towards Clay than the other way around.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I think I'm taking Ja Morant in a 5 or 7 game series. I think, Ja put the guns down, Clay put the rings away, and yeah, I
put
think
them fists up, baby.
Ja's going to be taking it from whoop that trick maybe to whoop that ass. So,
Yeah,
uh,
Ja by however he wants, man.
yeah, so we'll see. We'll see how this continues, and maybe we will get a fist fight someday. All right, so we have our first guest on the pod this season, a new guest. So, trying to bring on some new faces and bring back some old faces as well. We talked about the Thunder. So, to get more insight into the Thunder this week, we have our first guest on Diehlman at Halftime, Season 3. Let's get into it. So, for our first guest of season 3 of Dealman at Halftime, we welcome Clemente Almanza. Clemente is the managing editor at the Thunder Wire, and he's also the co host of Bricktown Breakdown, which is an Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Clemente, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, Larry. Off day for OKC, 14-1 to start the year. They've kind of picked up right where they left off in terms of last year's kind of regular season dominance for sure.
Yeah, a lot of good things going with the Thunder right now. Probably the best team in the league, only one loss. It's just crazy how they've really meshed together, even from last year.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, really great roster continuity from last year's team. I think they're only one guy from last year isn't here anymore, and Dylan Jones. And you don't really see that a lot from reigning NBA champions. And you're seeing why the continuity in the league really matters, where everybody's on the same page, a lot more better synergy, specifically with the Hardenstein homegrown front court minutes. And Shea just continues to get better.
Clemente, we're talking Thunders tonight. We're talking Oklahoma City. So, of course, I got to stop at the top of the roster and talk about AJ Mitchell, man. Tell me about AJ Mitchell. What's been going on with his emergence? Second round pick. We talked about him earlier this season in the podcast and how it seems like Oklahoma City just has this farm of young talent that they can keep diving into. Tell me about his emergence. He's been great this year.
Yeah, he's really stepped up as somebody who can kind of help with some of the scoring load for Shea since J-Dub's been out all year recovering from his wrist surgery. But yeah, man, I mean, AJ, like that was somebody the Thunder targeted in the 2024 NBA draft. And if you remember, that was the first year where the draft was 2 days instead of one. So that second day, they made like four series of moves to get him, where they started the day with no second round picks and eventually got to up to number 38 and they were able to add him from UC Santa Barbara, a pretty small school, mid-major school. And I know he's kind of become a household name this year. He's getting his own segments on ESPN. But if you ask any Thunder fan, they would have said that, last year AJ was kind of helping him along the way, especially at the start of the year as kind of a backup point guard. And then, around December, January, he suffered a toe turf injury that basically cost him the rest of the regular season. He was out for 3 months. And by the time he came back, it was the playoffs, and you're just not going to rely on a second round rookie in your playoff rotation that much. But yeah, I mean, he had a full off season to get healthy from that. And this series, like I said, he's really stepped up as somebody who can get to the basket, create his own look, get to the free throw line. Like his free throw numbers have been pretty insane for a second year guy, especially with his limited role as the backup point guard. And yeah, like I said, like he's been somebody who's been able to kind of keep the Thunder be the best team in the league with the amount of injuries they're dealing with, not just with Jada, but I mean, Lou Dort missed some time, Chet's missed some time. A lot of Caruso's missed some time. A lot of rosters missed time this season already. I think they lead the league in total games lost from injuries. Um, at least in like quantity wise.
Mm.
But yeah, he's been super awesome. A little bit of an older guy as well, 23, 24 years old. And you're starting to see that kind of pay off a little bit with him being kind of an immediate contributor for this team. And like I said, he's just like another guy that the Thunder really, hone in on in the pre-draft process. And you're starting to see why, Sam Presti and that front office is kind of viewed as like one of the best draft and develop teams in the entire league.
So this wasn't much of a revelation for you guys in Thunderland. You guys were kind of I don't want to say expecting such a large leap, but I mean to pretty much myself and any other NBA fan this year, it seems like he's coming kind of come out of nowhere. But the Thunder kind of really had a lot of hope in this guy. It sounds like.
No, yeah, 100%. In that 2024 draft, they kind of went point guard heavy, a little bit playmaker heavy. I mean, Nikola Topic was the 12th pick that draft. He kind of was like a high ceiling type of guy that, hasn't played yet for, dealing with injuries and now with his testicular cancer as well. So he hasn't made his NBA debut yet. But Mitchell was another guy that they added from that draft class. That was like the one spot on the roster that was kind of a weakness for them even last year was not having that secondary ball handler slash playmaker who can help the Thunder offense keep running whenever Shea was off the floor. J-Dub kind of did a little bit last year. Hardenstein as well as kind of a DHO center as well. But AJ's kind of fits the mold of your traditional backup point guard who, can run a little bit of the offense, can, drive to the basket, head down. And he had a lot of like off-season weight as well. Specifically a lot of off-season muscle. Like that was one of the big stories coming out of training camp this
He
year
plays
in
big. That's
OKC.
smart, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like he's really filled his frame out, and that's helped him be, I think, second in the team in drives per game behind Shea, who leads the league, where he can like bump out defenders, has really nice feel around the rim, really nice floater, and whenever he's not like floating it up, he's drawing contact and getting to the free throw line for sure.
Just one more thing, which will carry into our next point of discussion. Bill Simmons mentioned this. I thought this was really interesting about AJ Mitchell. Could we be looking at something similar to a Jalen Brunson in Dallas type situation with him? You guys are paying a lot of guys right now. You guys have a ton of young talent, especially at the guard position with Kason Wallace and Nikola Topic kind of in the ranks. Hopefully, he's able to recover from the cancer, but obviously super talented. So, is this like a potential big time guard in the making, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Brunson's been a popular name. I don't know if he'll reach those heights just because he just won't have the opportunity to do so in OKC. I mean, they got
Yeah.
Shea ahead of him, Dub, Chet, Hardenstein, and Kaysen, like a ton of other guys ahead of him. I guess my personal comp for him will be like maybe, a Derek Fisher type guard who, can get his own basket, shoot from the outside, play make a little. But I definitely see why some people are kind of comparing him to Brunson, especially, they got similar stories as like, these draft picks that weren't really thought of much whenever they were added
Mhm.
to their teams, but they eventually develop into being a little bit more. They also kind of play super similar as well, both dry first type of guards, can
Yeah,
play make a
big.
little. But I don't know. I think Derek Fisher. I mean, I've been harping on a Derek Fisher comp for a little bit. And I think that's a pretty good comp for sure and that'd be a pretty good career for Mitchell as well if he can be that type of guy as well.
Yeah, if he hangs around in Oklahoma City, he might mess around and win the same amount of rings. But yeah, obviously a big time player. And but how are they going to keep him? I think Larry would like to ask about that real quick.
Yeah, how do you think they're going to manage to keep some of these players? As Chris pointed out, the Thunder, they got some big contracts right now, and they have a lot of young talent that needs to be paid. I looked at the Thunder's payroll, most notably at the moment, Isaiah Hartenstein, Lou Dort, and Kason Wallace are some of the bigger names that are going to need an extension in the near future. So, how do you think they're going to manage that, or who do you think they might prioritize?
Yeah, in terms of how I think they'll manage it, I think it might be a cop-out answer, but I think they're just gonna wait and see how the season plays out. Usually that type of stuff kind of figures itself out eventually. And so far for this season, I know most people kind of assume that the Thunder are going to decline Hardenstein's option for next season, and maybe that was the plan at one point. I mean, they did add Thomas Sorber out of Georgetown with the 15th pick this past draft, but he tore his ACL in the offseason. He's out for the season. He was kind of seen as maybe the potential Hardenstein replacement long term, similar skill set, similar size, but now that he's out for the year, like you can't make that decision without any real NBA data behind it now. So maybe, at the beginning, maybe they would have been fine letting Hardenstein go, but like I don't know, man. Like he's been playing so good for this team. You can make a case he's been, the third best or most important player for the team this season behind Shea and Chet. He had a career last year averaging a double-double. This year he's kind of one up himself. He's doing a lot more as a roll man in pick and roll actions. He's been OKC's best lob threat in years since I'll probably say since Steven Adams. Like he's been their most consistent lob threat since Steven Adams. I mean, this team has definitely kind of morphed itself to his strengths as a playmaker and as a role man, and he's a rebounding machine. When they first added Hardenstein, that was like one of the selling points was, that 2024 OKC team that was the first seed and lost to the Mavs. They were one of the worst rebounding teams in the league. And then you had Hardenstein, who was one of the best rebounding centers in New York. And so far, that's kind of carried over here in OKC as well. So I don't know. I think originally maybe they would have been fine declining Hardenstein's option, letting him get a massive payday elsewhere. But I don't know. Like at this point of the season, I would probably prioritize me personally. I probably prioritize Hardenstein first, just because he's so important to your team. He's been one of your 5, 6 best players since he first arrived. He lets Chet play the four a lot more, and that's kind of opened up some areas of the floor for him that previously weren't there when he was just a starting center, specifically in the mid-range area. So I would definitely like prioritize Hardenstein first. Like you got to figure something out with him for sure. And then that kind of leaves you to decide like, all right, is it going to be Lou Dort or Casey Wallace? Not just because of the fact that, not just from like a financial standpoint, obviously, but those two guys, they kind of overlap a little bit in terms of their skill set. Both defensive first, shooting guards who can shoot the ball from the outside, transition scorers. And like, I don't know, like it's tough because Lou Dort, on one hand, like I think he's tied with Shea for being the longest tenure guy on the team. They both arrived in 2019. That first year when Dort was an undrafted two-way guy, like he actually lived with Shea during their first season together. The coaching staff loves Dort. Mark always has high praises for what Dort does defensively. He's kind of a culture setter a little bit here. But I mean, if you just look at it from a pure analytical standpoint, you have to wonder, like, it kind of feels like Kayson's kind of being groomed to kind of be the Dort replacement. A little bit younger, 22 years old compared to Dort's, I think he's like 25, 26, a little bit more upside as well. And we just saw Kayson go through like a pretty big stress test this past week where on that home back to back, he guarded Steph one night, held him to 11 points. And 24 hours later, he guarded Luka the next night, held him to 19 points. Both guys, NBA superstars. It didn't matter. Kaysen shut both of them down. He leads the league in steals. He's kind of taking some small, nuanced leaps on the offensive side, especially as a ball handler, getting to the basket. His outside shooting has kind of come to form here recently. I mean, it feels like if everything goes right for him in terms of health, he'll probably be like an all defense guy this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a hound and he's disciplined too.
Yeah.
You can
So
see in the way he plays, and he's plenty athletic enough and plenty skilled enough to really round out his offensive game, I think.
yeah. So if you just look at this from like a calculated cold standpoint, it probably makes more sense to keep Kaysen around and
I
then
agree.
than Lou. But like I don't know, man. Like Lou's such a good defender as well. And it's like all not all I like it. Like your argument for if you want Lou to stick around isn't just purely based off like, vibes or feelings or whatever. Like he's one of the best, perimeter defenders in the league. Like he
For
matches
sure.
up well with Luka. He was an all defense guy last year as well. He shot 40% from free on like decent volume last year as well. I don't know. It just feels like, if I had to rank those three, it'd probably be Hardenstein, Kaysen, then Dort. But like I'm also the mindset of, I mean, if they go to back to back, you gotta bring them back somehow, some way. Like you can't break that up.
No, you can't. I
Well,
mean,
might
I
have to.
I feel like with this team, this is a team that you just want to like turn the salary cap off, like this is 2K or something. Like you don't want
Yeah.
anybody to go. But definitely, I get what you're saying with Kayson's a little bit younger and they kind of play similar. So definitely a tough decision, but hopefully they can get that together in the future. Going over to SGA, obviously Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, one of the best players, if not the best player in the NBA right now. Is it possible? Is this man better than what he was last year? He was so good last year, MVP, Finals MVP. Obviously the Pacers pushing them to 7 games, but is he even better than last year? Is that even possible?
Yeah, it's tough because guys like Shea, like there's just not much more room to grow, Like if they do get better, it's like nuanced small things that you really only see if you like watch Shea on a game by game basis. Like the stats really don't show it, but obviously like you said, Shea, the best scorer in the league, one of the best scorers ever, really. Like he's about to average an efficient 30 points per game for a fourth straight season at 27 years old. Like that's insane. That is insane. He's at one of the more unconventional ascensions to being a superstar. So, and that kind of makes me believe that, conventional wisdom is taking a little bit to catch up to just how good he is or how absurd he is. But he's just insane. I will say probably like the one area you can point to where he's like, improved on is definitely the playmaking for sure. I know his assist numbers don't really pop off or anything, at least compared to like other starting point guards, but he's done a really good job of just, utilizing the defensive attention he requires because all five defenders on the other team have to pay attention to where he's at because I mean, you heard of three level scorers. I think Jay's a four-level scorer, like from the outside, in the mid range, in the paint, and at the free throw line. Like he's like you got to keep your eyes on him at all time. He's at the top of your scattering report, and he's really leveraged that attention or gravity or whatever term you want to use to helping his teammates get easy looks around the rim. I mean, we saw it with the Pelicans game here recently that the Pelicans kind of played like a zone gimmicky defense, and they were full court pressing whoever the ball handler was, and you know, historically speaking, the Thunder kind of struggle with zone defenses, but that game was probably just a textbook example. We just had to kind of dissect it where Shea was finding an open Hardenstein underneath the rim for easy dunks at a dunker spot. You saw Shea's, driving kick game has really improved as well, which is very vital for this team because obviously, he leads the league in drives whenever he drives to the basket, like all five defenders kind of gravitate towards him, which gives you a plethora of options from the outside when he does that. So I really think his playmaking has definitely improved here for sure. And like I said, like at this point, like it's just crazy to think that Shea is as good as he is, and like I said, with guys like that, like there's really not much else for them to kind of figure out. But that's the one area where I think he's kind of gotten a little bit better at.
I
From
agree. No, I think he's gotten better as a playmaker and notably in the turnover department. He's averaging nearly one turnover less per game than he did last season, which is just a remarkable jump considering how good of a floor general he is and obviously how prolific of a scorer he is. I think I saw some statistic where he's creating over 50 points for the team a game in terms of his scoring and what he's dishing out to his teammates through assists. Obviously, he's creating over 50 points a game with only, I believe it's like 1.7 turnovers a game. I mean, that's ridiculous. And he's really grown as and matured as more of a general. And I really like Bill Simmons said something. He likened Shea Gilgeous-Alexander to like an independent movie Kobe. It's like they didn't have the budget to go all out and create the type of character that has kids yelling his name when they shoot paper into a trash can from across the room. Shea's not everywhere in the media. He's not this. Obviously, he's a superstar basketball player, but he's not this superstar figure, I guess, in pop culture, almost like Kobe was. But he's everything I think Kobe was as a scorer, and I think he's a lot more than Kobe was in just as a general creator. Kobe obviously had the reputation for being a bit of a ball hog and having some questionable shot selection, but I don't think people give Kobe the respect he deserves in regards to being a playmaker. Kobe was well aware of his gravity that he occupied on a basketball court, but I really think Shea is as well, and Shea uses that more of a weapon, I think, than Kobe Bryant did. What I saw from Kobe Bryant. And Shea has just really rounded out into almost like an evolved version of Kobe in a way. Obviously doesn't have the titles, the MVPs yet, but obviously still so young and still really maturing into his game. It's really incredible to see. I think he's the best he's ever been this season.
No, yeah, for sure. And I think game seven of the finals kind of show that. I mean, he had 29 points, 12 assists, and that helped him win the championship, obviously. So like I said, that's one area where he improved. And And back to like your point about how Shane might not be super mainstream. I think some of that has to do with where he plays, obviously in OKC, but I
For
think that's kind
sure.
of solved itself because now I think they're tied for the most national TV games. Like I said earlier, like he also has had such a weird, unconventional
Yeah.
superstar path. Like he's only a three-time All-Star. That's crazy
Mhm.
to think.
It's
So he's
unreal.
like he's a late bloomer a little bit, but like once he bloomed, like he just he just quickly rose to like an MVP winner. It's just kind of crazy, like just kind of watching his career arc, like where he was 4 or 5 years ago compared to now.
It was weird, he was almost just a young kind of throw-in piece to a trade for a player who we thought was much higher level at the time in Paul George. Paul George was the centerpiece of that trade, and Shea was almost thrown in as a young, high ceiling guy who could, potentially score at an all-star level someday. Just something to sweeten up the Paul George package, and it's unreal how the script has kind of turned the way it has, and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has turned into one of the greatest scorers of our generation right now.
It honestly
Yeah.
might be like low key. It's probably one of the worst trades in NBA history, just because we thought Paul George was like we were treating it like he was LeBron or something. Just all that draft capital and the Clippers, they wanted Paul George so bad, and now the Thunder are basically laughing with all their draft picks. They basically have a war chest of capital and assets.
They're gonna have
All
two top 10 picks this
and now
year.
look where
Like
the
that's
look
ridiculous.
where the Clippers are in the standings. They're like what,
Oh man.
as of this recording, they're like what, like 4-9 in the West. Like, come on, man. It's ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
Sam Presti is the true MVP.
And like another thing that gets lost with the whole Clippers thing is that the other guy that they got from that deal was J-Dub with that 2022 lottery pick that they lost whenever they lost to the Pelicans in the play-in. So just crazy that they got Shea and Dub from the same deal.
That's insanity.
All right, so next, I kind of want to pivot. We've talked about how amazing Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's playing this year. We've talked at length about AJ Mitchell and the seemingly infinite pool of talent that the Thunder keep managing despite all of their big contracts. And that this is, I think, one of the most well-constructed rosters of all time, if not the most well-constructed roster considering the youth they have, considering the talent they have, and considering how much more they got coming in the form of these other organizations' picks in which they sacrificed to hopefully improve their standing. But as we're seeing, a lot of those teams that ended up sacrificing those picks that are now in the hands of Oklahoma City are in the middle of the lottery right now. So Oklahoma City, this rendition of the Thunder over the last couple of years, and I'm sure spanning the next few, I believe it's safe to say they're one of the greatest basketball teams of all time. So, Clemente, I want you to I'm gonna list some teams at you. I'm gonna spit some teams at you. We're gonna say it's the NBA Finals. We're gonna say it's this edition of the Thunder. We're gonna say everybody's healthy. And I want you to give me in a 7 game series who you got and in how many games. We'll start just a short year or two ago with a team who we thought we'd kind of be talking about in the same category as we talk about the Thunder right now. The 23-24 Boston Celtics, who we thought were going to run the next 5 years of the NBA. But the man, those luxury taxes or the aprons, I should say,
Second
hit them like a
apron.
truck. Yes, the second apron really took a toll on the Boston Celtics. But nonetheless, an extremely talented, well-oiled machine ran through the league that year, including maybe the best Luka Doncic we've ever seen in the finals. So 23-24 Boston Celtics, 25-26 Oklahoma City Thunder, NBA Finals. Who you got?
Oh man, that's tough. I mean, we kind of saw a little bit of that last year because I mean the Celtics did have a lot of continuity from their finals team, and the Thunder ended up winning both of those games. And the second game was without Jalen Williams as well at Boston. I think I would. I mean, I think I would go with OKC. I know that 23. I remember in the 23-24 season, like the Celtics were kind of were a little bit undermined a little bit. But I was always in a train of they're the best team in NBA. They're a winning machine in the regular season. They were clearly the best team in the league that year, so I didn't surprise me too much that they won the title that year. All that said, though, like man, last year's team, like I don't think people realize just how historic last year's team was. I mean, 68 wins. best point differential of all time, best defense in the league that season, one of the best defenses ever. Shea had one of the best individual seasons ever. I think Shea at his peak is better than Tatum at his peak as well. So I think I go OKC and I go 6.
So Kaysen and Lou Dort are gonna stop that barrage of threes that they attempted that year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The Thunder usually give up a ton of threes anyway. That's kind of their MO a little bit on defense. And I don't
Well,
know, they
then
do a good job.
you don't think that series could get a bit dicey then?
Hey, I did say 6 games though. I mean, maybe I go
Fair.
7, but 6 games. I think that's a pretty respectable series most of the time.
No, no, absolutely. I'd probably say something similar. Let's take it back a couple years. Let's go to a team led by who I believe to be the greatest basketball player of all time. Some people call it fraudulent. I say this ring was a lot harder than probably your average ring. Let's talk about the 1920 LA Lakers, the bubble champions, led by LeBron, a great version of LeBron, and Anthony Davis, who seemingly pummeled every team in their path on the way to the ring, especially when they had every player in their rotation healthy and extinguished the blazing hot heat. I think I'm going Thunder in this series. I think you are too. But how do you see a series like that playing out, where the Thunder have to deal with a player of a prime-ish LeBron James's caliber?
Yeah, I mean, if any type of like archetype of player gives this Thunder defense trouble, it's probably somebody like Prime AD, like these huge centers that can win the possession battle, grab misses, grab defensive rebounds, finish inside the paint as well. LeBron, does a lot of the same as well. And in that Lakers team, like they just had a really good group of veteran role players who knew their role as well. I don't know, that's tough. I think I would go, like you said, I think I would go OKC. But it's definitely one of those playoff series where like the final score is like 95 to 89 in like most of the games, where super low scoring, uh, super 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 low field goal percentage as well, defensive first type matchups. And yeah, I mean those two teams, like those are some of the better defenses of this past decade as well. So I go OKC in 6, but yeah, I mean it's tough for sure.
Let's take it back another few years here. Let's go to who many believe is the most talented team of all time. The NBA record holding 73 and 9, 2015-2016 Golden State Warriors. Who you got in that series? That's a fun one.
I'll go Golden State just so I don't say OKC in all these matchups. But yeah, that team was really good, man. 73 and 9, prime Steph, prime Klay, prime Draymond, really great cast of role players. Um, it's funny, like Steve Kerr said whenever he was in OKC that this Thunder team has all the tools and all the continuity and all that to kind of replicate their run in the 2010s. So it was super cool to kind of hear Steve Kerr kind of say that because I do think, if you're going to compare this Thunder team, this iteration of OKC to any team in league history, it probably will be the Warriors. I mean, both teams, dominate the third quarters. Their MVP winner doesn't sits out the fourth quarter a lot. They got a pair of rising stars with Dub and Chet, and for Golden State it was Clay and Draymond. Really good coaching as well in Kerr and Daignault. So if you're ever going to compare OKC to any other team that kind of had a similar run, I think Golden State will definitely be the most accurate comparison. All that said, though, I think I'll pick Golden State here. It'd be a fun series for sure. I'd say it go to the full 7 games, just like that
I agree.
2016 Thunder team did.
Definitely.
All right, we're gonna go back more than a couple of years here. You may know what's coming, and you really might anger some people with your answer to this final team here. Who you got? This current version of the Thunder or the Michael Jordan led 95, 96 Chicago Bulls? I have my answer, and it's a quick series in my opinion. But
Hmm.
who you got, Clemente?
I think I'll break even here and pick Chicago, but I don't know, man. It's kind of funny too because during the finals there's like a lot of Shea Michael comparisons, and then yeah, like a little bit of J-Dub Scottie Pippen comparisons
Yep.
as well. The crazy part to me was that nobody really like flinched at the ladder. Everybody was like, "Yeah, it makes sense, Dub and Scotty." So it was kind of crazy to see that being the consensus reaction. But I don't know. I'll pick the Bulls. I mean, they won 6 championships. They had 2 3-peats. Maybe I don't think the Thunder are going to reach the heights, but it's too soon to tell. I'll pick the Bulls, and I guess I'll go with 6 as well. Pick the Bulls in 6.
Thunder in four.
Wow. Okay.
Damn.
Sorry,
I don't know.
I'm very prone to recency bias, and I just think that I think the game has come such a long way, and I think players of today are so much more skilled. It'd be a fun series because I don't know if anyone's been compared on a to a god on a basketball court other than Michael Jordan. And obviously 6 championships, they have something to show for it. But I'd maybe stupidly take OKC, but it'd be an awesome series. It'd be fun.
Yeah, you're hedging on them having kind of a similar run here because they're still in the early stages of what OKC is doing. But I respect it
Definitely a lot of good takes here. Clemente, thank you so much for joining us this week on Dealman at halftime, and we hope to get you back on in the future.
for sure. Anytime, anytime.
Alrighty, so for our game of the week, we are going to take it to the Eastern Conference, which we have not been doing much this season, obviously because of how absolutely unreal the West has been this year and for the last couple of years. And we are going to take a visit to South Beach for our game of the week, I believe on Saturday the 29th. The Detroit Pistons come to town, who are leading the Eastern Conference by a pretty sizable margin right now, 14-2. I think they're on a 12-game winning streak. The Pistons, they just play such a fun, competitive brand of basketball. They really control the paint with an emergence from Jalen Duren, who's having an amazing season so far, and Isaiah Stewart. And I think Cade Cunningham has taken a sizable leap as well. He's definitely jumped into those Brunson Mitchell conversations. I think Maxi's kind of in there now as well. He has a similar type of command of the game, similar to what we talked about with Chris Paul earlier. He's not quite Chris Paul. He turns the ball over a lot, but just the way that everything rides on him. When they need a bucket, they go to Cade. When they want to set something up, they set it up through Cade. And he's really ran with that type of responsibility for the Pistons this year, and everything's going through him, and he's been tremendous. They're playing a really fun brand of basketball. And we picked this game because, as is Miami, they are also playing a very fun brand of basketball, a very fast brand of basketball. Jaime Jaquez, who we talked about in the beginning of the year, has really stepped up for them. I believe Khalil Ware has as well. He's almost a Wemby light, if you will, just really tall, lanky. He can score at will. He can defend at will. He's super long. They're just a really fun team right now. They have Tyler Hero coming back pretty soon. Norman Powell's been great for them. Wiggins, Davion Mitchell, Nikola Jovic has taken steps. They just have a lot of talent on this team, and they just play a really fun, fast-paced brand of basketball. Really a clash of styles happening in Miami on this Saturday night. Kind of the bullies, who are the Pistons, kind of embracing their bad boy nature from decades ago, and the Heat are just playing an entirely new, blazing fast brand of basketball. Here without Tyler Hero to start this season, just a really fun stylistic matchup. Larry, what do you think of this game? I think it's really fun.
Yeah, this game is definitely game of the week worthy. The Pistons first in the Eastern Conference, 14-2, 12-game winning streak. This is a team 2 seasons ago that lost 28 straight games, and now they're winning 12 straight games. And they are 2.5 games above the Raptors for the second seed. Anybody who thought the Pistons and the Raptors were going to be the top 2 seeds, I think you're kind of kidding yourselves. I mean, I think not to like rain on anybody's parade, but just to see those two compared to last year's teams, you think, oh, the Cavs, the Bucks, the Knicks, whatever. Pistons and Raptors, I don't think anybody saw coming.
Shout out to
Uh,
the six man. They are
yeah.
playing amazing right now.
The Heat are also they got 4 games in a row right now. Cade Cunningham has 6 straight double doubles in points and assists, including a casual 46 and 11 against Washington. But for the Heat, Norman Powell, probably the steal of the offseason. He was dealt to Miami in the Kevin Love and John Collins trade over the summer. And like you said, Tyler Hero is about to make his season debut. So a lot going for these two teams. The Pistons are young. The Heat just keep going with that Heat culture, as Eric Spoelstra has always done. So the Heat are always a gritty team. Never, unless you go back to the Heatles days, not really any like superstars who are, let's say, top three in their respective position. A lot of scrappy guys. You said Jaime Jaquez, yep. But the Pistons, a lot of young talent under JB Bickerstaff, and I think they'll only get better. Chris, I don't know who you have in this game. I think the last couple games of the week I've been taking some L's, but I feel good about this one, or at least I hope I feel good about this one. I'm going with the Heat, 121-117 down in South Beach.
I am as well. I think they're going to be pretty sizable underdogs in this one. But I just love the personnel they have to deploy against this unreal paint defense unit that Detroit has. Bam Adebayo and Khalil Ware is probably exactly who you want to kind of neutralize the paint play of Detroit. And I trust guys like Davion Mitchell to really, maybe not neutralize Cade, but hold him to maybe a bad shooting night. We've seen plenty of those out of Cade Cunningham this season. I believe just recently he he set the record for most field goals missed in a game of all time, and yeah, it was that game you referenced against Washington. He missed 31 field goals, shot 14 of 45, but man, he went nuclear in that fourth quarter, and he pulled out a win for Detroit. That was just an
Oh
unreal
yeah,
watch.
oh wait, oh yeah, I do remember that. That's crazy.
Yeah, that that was just unreal to watch. I tuned in towards the end of that game, and I was just dumbfounded looking at the box score, but then seeing him take over towards the end of that game. Cade's a really fun player, but not the most efficient guy, and is prone to kind of turning the ball over a bit. And Miami style of play, I think, is perfectly equipped to go at the strengths and weaknesses of Detroit. So I'll also take Miami. I'll take Miami in a close one. I'll go 109-105.
All right, so both of us are going with the 4-point spread there in South Beach. Some good stuff.
And before we wrap it up here, I have to wish Ayo Dosunmu a belated congratulations on scoring the 14 millionth point in NBA history. Shout out to Ayo Dosunmu, man. A good player for Chicago. Illinois product, I believe. Man, shout out to him scoring the NBA's 14 millionth point.
Ayo Dosunmu. Yes, congratulations indeed. Knowing the way history has gone, he'll probably be a Sacramento King in February. So,
Yeah, for sure.
because the Sacramento Kings are the Sacramento Bulls.
Yeah, they'll
Um,
trade Keon Ellis for him. They're
of
only
course, of
nice
course.
young piece.
Well, right now the Kings, they're open for business. Everybody's available except Keegan Murray and Nick Clifford. So,
Hey, Daryl Morey, go get Keon Ellis, man. I'm trying to
uh,
win a ring, man. He's that winning player we talk about, man. Winning player. He's got winning qualities.
definitely. Well, that's all the time we have for today. If you haven't already, make sure to follow the podcast accounts, Chris and me, on social media. The three podcast accounts on Instagram, TikTok, and X or Twitter are under at Diehlman at half. My personal X and Instagram are at Larry Diehlman. Chris's personal X and Instagram are at Chris Dippy. All seven handles are in the description on Buzzsprout, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, although you can find Diehlman at Halftime on major podcasting platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, the main podcast website is on Buzzsprout. The website URL is dealmanathalftime.buzzsprout.com. Feel free to send a comment by using the Send Us a Text button located in each episode's bio. With the exception of Apple Podcasts, the text option is available on Buzzsprout and all the major platforms. Your comment could end up in the fan mail section of the Buzzsprout website. And thank you to Clemente Almanza for being our guest this week on the podcast. You can follow him on X and Instagram at calmanza1007. And don't forget to spread the word about Diehlman at halftime. See you next time, fellow Hoops fans.